Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for Coffee and Conversation.
I don't know about you guys, but I have been so impressed with the things that are on the net, how creative they all are. You know, the music, the humor, how people are connecting, and then the stories of, because kids can't have graduations, what they're doing instead of it. I mean, I'm so impressed with the creativity. What do you think's going on there?
I know it's really great to see because there's creativity in different forms. There's your everyday tasks that you're finding like creative ways to socialize with people and engage with people. There's businesses finding ways to do like online wine dinners. And there's also creativity of people taking advantage of learning dance and music and art and painting and to do it virtually. So it's really interesting to see. And to be honest, like creativity is not frivolous. There are so many benefits that we need right now. The benefits, in addition to stress reduction and less depression and anxiety, we're better at problem solving. It's better for our mental health, our cognitive health. It makes us more open-minded and flexible to be able to adapt. It gives us better coping skills, and who can't use that right now? And it makes us more resilient. So one of the things, Roger, I've heard you give presentations where you say when someone's painting, they're completely mindful, they lose sense of time. And what you're talking about there is flow from positive psychology. It's finding that purposeful task that's intrinsically rewarding, that is challenging. It requires skill and focus, but it has very similar benefits like meditation or mindfulness. And you get the dopamine, the endorphin, and the serotonin rush. So all that good stuff. So I would encourage people up here to explore creative pursuits. And the trick is finding something that's challenging, but not so challenging that you give up. So maybe not start with a 2,000-piece puzzle unless you do puzzles all the time, which, Roger, you do. And if something's too easy, step it up a notch. One of the quotes that I really like is from Kurt Vonnegut, where he says, "To practice an art, no matter how well or how badly, is what makes your soul grow." So I like that.
That's beautiful. By the way, I haven't finished that puzzle. I have one piece to put in. I'm just reluctant to finish it. It's been such a long journey, and it was such a pleasure. So it's sitting right next to me right here, and I'm loving it, but there's only one piece, and there it is, ready to be put in. I don't know. Maybe there'll be trumpets playing or something. I don't know. I'll be creative about it, whatever I do.
Oh, Danielle, I love that quote, too. Gosh, what a great quote. And it's along the lines of the thoughts I wanted to share today, actually. It's so easy to live on default and kind of live off that programming, maybe even from our childhoods, or certainly the programming that society tells us is normal. And we end up not living like a conscious or deliberate life. And it's so easy to let our brains loop on all the same thoughts, or, accept information that comes from outside of us, from books, from the internet, maybe other people's opinions that we just kind of accept. And it's not surprising in a way, because that's what we learned in school, that the answers come from outside of us and then we take them in and we believe them. But I think that's the opposite of expecting our brains to be really creative, like to create original ideas and think original thoughts. It's something altogether different to put our brains to task, to think new thoughts and entertain new possibilities and create new ideas that are original. It's believing that all the best answers are actually right inside of us. I like that thought. I have a few thoughts to share about how we can do that. And step one could be referred to as like mental hygiene. It's that powerful task of downloading our thoughts. So taking all those thoughts floating around in there, getting them on paper. That means taking everything out of your brain, taking a look at it, and then deciding what to put back in or not, and making sure that we're then thinking on purpose and deliberately. It's like cleaning your closet, but doing it every day. that discipline and practice of watching ourselves think truly can create any result we want in our lives. So in order to get really creative, or as my coach calls it, to super think, we've got to clean out the closet first, clean out our brains. And then to ask our brains to be really creative, of course, it starts with alone time, with downtime, which we may not be all that good at in our society. And we have to ask our brains really good questions, positive questions, and expect our brains to come up with the answers, and lots of them. So this is to, access our uniqueness, our creativity, our original ideas by thinking on purpose. And it's powerful. So what if we asked our brains to come up with 10 ideas regularly about any topic? And especially, those topics that seem especially challenging, those topics that feel impossible currently to our brains. And of course, our brains say, I don't know. Tony Robbins, the Tony Robbins in our head would suggest that we say, then what if it did know? And take a guess. So my sense is it's easy to walk through life in that state of underutilizing our brains. And to me, the more we expect of our brains, the more creativity flows, and the better we are, and also the more we can serve other people.
Right on. Boy, what good things. I don't know. It's you guys are a hard act to follow, but I do have a couple of things I think. First, certainly you have stimulated me to think about. I think before this time, most of us went through life as if on a treadmill, but our minds were on a treadmill. And you've mentioned that, where we're not really paying attention to what we're thinking. Our mind is running the show. I mean, all of a sudden we may realize that we're thinking about something, but most of the time we're not even sure where that came from, how long we've been thinking about it. We can drive for miles and not remember anything that was there along the way because our minds were driving the show. And this particular opportunity, certainly tragic for many people, but those of us who are just have had to sort of give up our regular schedule and our regular rituals, that's not easy, but here's an opportunity and I think more and more people are doing it. That's why we're seeing all these creative things, because now, rather than letting the mind run the show, they are there, as you say, Teresa, more in control, driving the show. So being mindful, which is a good thing, is not having an empty head. There's nothing there. It's about paying attention to your thoughts. And from that, that's where the real creativity comes. I think probably the best story that I've ever heard that drives this home is about Albert Einstein. I mean, let's face it, in the 20th century, there probably was not a more creative mind, at least for output and the things that he influenced with his radical thinking and our understanding of the universe, so many things. But he said that his most startling, stunning, and productive thoughts and ideas came when he was not being driven by the schedule of I have to finish this. How does this happen? And it was when he would be walking. And he very rarely wore socks. So he is walking along a beach or something, and his mind is open, not empty, open. And so much as they say, like clouds come by, and so these things were coming by. He was paying attention to those clouds, which were thoughts, but just he was in control. It was not driving him. He was paying attention to that. And from one of those came the idea of relativity. And he grabbed that cloud and then deliberately thought about it, just as you were saying, Teresa, and explored it. But it never would have come had he been just down at his desk, pounding away at an idea. So I think that's probably what's going on. Plus, we all need humor. We all need music. We all need these things. We all need to stay connected. And we're going to do it one way or the other. But I think just getting off this mental and physical treadmill that where we spend most of our time in our usual schedule, I think is opening up great new possibilities for all of us. And what I hope is that I personally, and I hope as a society, we don't forget this experience and make sure that we just don't go back to the way it was, because it can be a lot better.
You've been listening to Dr. Roger and Friends, The Bright Side of Longevity. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.